There's a whole lot of things I want to tell you about. Adventures, dangerous and queer. Some you could guess, and some I've only hinted at. So please lend me your ear.
Everyone has a relationship with gender. What's your story? Hello and welcome to Gender Stories with your host, Dr. Alex Taffy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Gender Stories. As ever, I'm so excited. I know I'm always excited, but first of all, I'm an easily excitable person. And second of all, for Gender Stories, I get to talk to so many wonderful people. And today I get to talk to Dean-FM, who is a Boston, Massachusetts-based non-binary rapper, activist, and influencer. Dean's music encapsulates eclectic thoughts that scat over percussive rhythms and exotic sounds. His performances exude drag culture and satiric expression. In 2016, Dean released his debut EP, Watch It, which received local and national coverage. In 2020, Dean-FM released his EP entitled SISSY. The music video for his lead single, Bottom Beat, shines a light on the exploitation of prostitution. Dean-FM stands for compassion, courage, and equality. In his activism, he supports the awareness and acceptance of gender neutrality and refuses to deny his true identity, identifying himself with both he and her pronouns. Dean also advocates for the awareness of minority mental health and the prevention of animal abuse. And as an influencer, Dean utilizes her platform to further promote his art and advocacy work. So thank you, Dean, for making the time to talk with me for the Gender Stories listeners. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm always excited to talk about music because I love music and all styles of music. And so tell me a little bit about your journey towards becoming, a rapper and really and making the music that you make. What moved you to make music and when did you start making music and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so I started writing and getting interested in rap in high school. And I started working with the manager who I have now as a rap tutor on the side, kind of like a rap tutor. It was a weird title, but she worked on, I work with her today, nearly 15 years later. But, it's, I've got really into music, professionally after around 2021 or two, because I had, left college due to an issue of substance abuse. And though it was hard to get back into school, but so I decided to, take on music as I worked in customer service, so I would be able to try to work towards that career. I really, my first EP, Watch It, was, it was an amazing time. I felt so, music is definitely where I want to be, and I continue to create, and I have more stuff coming out soon, and that type of thing. So, and currently I am doing my music as well as influencing on YouTube and on Instagram, as well. I've gotten back into school. So I'm also trying to go back into school and trying to diversify or expand my repertoire as a artist in songwriting. So I'm going for a songwriting degree. And yeah, music is where it's at for me.
Yeah, congrats on going back to school. I know it's not easy when there is a disruption, with school. And so I hope it's really fun and that you get everything you want out of doing a songwriting degree. And let's talk a little bit, music can be such a resource, at least for me. I know music really helps me with my own mental health. Music really helps me, just be more present, with myself and the world. And so I'm wondering, you mentioned kind of dropping off school because of substance use issue. Do you find the music as a musician also helps you kind of process challenges or feel like you can express different parts of yourself? Or I'm just curious about your relationship in terms of mental and emotional and health and music, if that makes sense.
Yeah, music has always been a pretty decent coping strategy. I've always been a creative or artistic type of individual. When I was younger, I did physical art, physical mediums, painting, collages. I love that type of thing. I was going to go into school. for art, but then I wasn't, that didn't work out, so I went to Tulane. And art has always been a very much an escape. It's in school, doodling and stuff. I've always had these coping mechanisms, and I right now, like writing and producing and content creating is very helpful because as somebody who doesn't feel, very self-confident all the time, I'm working on that. It's nice to have things that are put out and that I can be proud of, that are, that I can say, regardless as to whether or not people, it's widely appreciated or widely, like I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of of myself and the things that I put into. And I encourage everybody, no matter if they are, feel like they are artistically inclined, to try it. And everybody deserves a place in the industry. That's my opinion, no matter if they're good or bad. So that's how I feel. Yeah.
I really hear that. I feel like that creating is such a thing we need as humans, right? Whether it's creating a song, creating a meal, writing something, doodling, right? I'm like terrible at drawing, but I really enjoy coloring and choosing different, color combination when I'm coloring. I think we need that expression of creativity, which is getting really hard under capitalism, right? Because there's this idea we have to like produce and always like, be excellent at everything. I'm like, no, we can just do stuff because it feels good.
Yeah.
It helps us cope, it helps us express ourselves and all of that. And your music is great also. So I'm very
Thank
glad
you.
and grateful that you make music, by the way. I
Thank you
should
very
have
much.
led with that.
No, it's okay. No, but definitely in terms of a coping skill, it's more than that. Obviously, for me, I wanted to be professional. I want to get into a more professional zone with it. But I think just being realistic with myself and knowing that I've given it 5 years and I'm still going to keep going, but I'm going to try to expand what I do. So I'm definitely music is always going to be where I'm going to return. I'm married to it, So yeah.
Yeah, you're a musician. Once you're a musician, no matter what happens in terms of like, success in air quotes, whatever success means,
Yeah.
right? In this
Yeah.
world, I'm so glad to hear you're proud of your music, and your music is beautiful. Also, I just love
Thank
rap
you.
because I feel it's poetry with music, right? And it's just,
Hmm.
it just speaks to my soul. So thank you for making beautiful music. And let's talk about gender for a minute. What is it like to be a non-binary musician, right? I think there is this impression at the moment, definitely through the last few years, trans tipping point, more visibility. And with that visibility also come challenges. And so I'm wondering about your own experiences being a non-binary, rapper, non-binary musician, artist right now, what the experience is like for you.
Well, it's always been, um, music has definitely been a way to get involved in my community, and I feel like it's always been a way to without music, I don't think I would have been able to be as queer or queer at all. I think music not only helps me and first of all, it helped me come out. I feel like music helps me coming out. Like, when I'm listening to, all these female rappers, it's kind of hard to, not accept it finally. Maybe you're a little feminine,
Yeah.
maybe you got some good things going. Yeah. So it's like, that's always been a way. And I feel like performing on stage, I'm able to be that character. I'm able to be, uh, and it's not to say that my appearance as DFM is a character, because this is who I would dress every day. But like in terms of like going on stage and things like that, that's always been a like it's such an enlightening experience, as well as But in terms of being genderqueer and in hip hop and in what I've experienced in the industry is not
Mhm.
accepting. The industry is not very accepting of of homosexuality, of femininity, and it's very often sexualized if it is
Yeah.
feminine, and it's, uh, I mean, being gender queer, I just knowing, I've known, and we all, I mean, it's something that I knew since I was young, that this is not going to be an industry that's going to be easy to be in because of all the, the macho,
Hmm.
people and that type of thing. So yeah,
No, that makes,
yeah,
yeah. Hmm. No,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, just being, but I'm not gonna stop doing what I gotta do. There's a lot of, and I'm happy to see a lot of gay artists coming out, a lot of gay rappers, a lot of gay, both lesbian and gay and non-binary. And in terms of, in the industry, it's very nice to see. I think it is becoming more open, but that's been a struggle for me. I wouldn't blame or in any way that my lack of success on the homophobia in the industry, because I want to take personal responsibility in that. I want to make the best content that people are gonna like, and things like that. So I mean, yeah,
No, but it is pretty, at the same time, it is pretty recent that people have been able to be more out as performers, especially trans, non-binary, genderqueer, gender expansive performers in all sorts of arts and in hip hop. I mean, definitely the landscape is very different than it was like 30 years ago. For
yeah,
example, when I was a teenager in the 80s, I'm that old, I'm in my 50s. I was like, it's so wonderful to have more artists engaged in the industry, and it cannot be easy, whatever the industry is, right? It's never
right,
easy, I don't think, to be a trans, non-binary, gender expansive artist. And so
yeah,
I appreciate you taking personal responsibility. And there's also reality of the system, right? We know
yeah.
there's a lot of systemic barriers. And, let's talk about, your EP entitled SISSY, right? SISSY is often used as a slur by, cis and straight folks, mostly towards kind of more effeminate folks. And so tell me a little bit about why that title, and kind of how do you relate to that word, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I was called that when I was younger because of from people in my family, and it's kind of like I don't want to. It's not even that so deep that I would like want to put those people on blast, but it's like I from people in my family I was called that, and it was always something that was the harshest word I feel like that was called within my family towards me, and it was I was called that in front of my friends, I was called that in front of just uh, friends of the family, and it's
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of acclaim it a little bit with calling my album that, and just kind of making it more fun for me. Like, just that's my word. That's our slur.
Yeah.
That's our slur. And I feel like we should be able to use it when the time calls for it. And yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with who people are. I don't think there's anything wrong with I think with slurs. There's something wrong with slurs, but there's no real meaning, and there shouldn't be any power in them, but there is, unfortunately. And knowing that I kind of, but recently, even in my creative process, looking back at SISSY, I kind of wonder if that was the best terminology, because because like recently Nicki Minaj, she came up with a song that had "sissy" in it. I'm like, now I'm like kind of like, do I want people, like, obviously that's our word, right? That's our word, and I think
Yes.
it's a delicate, it's a tricky area to have, and I don't want to push it in a way that people should be using. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to push it in a way that's like even gay people should use it. I think it's just my project. That was just a project, basically. Yeah.
But I think there is power in reclaiming words that have been used against us to hurt us, right? It's like, and like you said, it is a fine line, right? Because then it doesn't mean we're giving permission to other folks to use it if it's not
Right.
a word that's been used to hurt them, right? It's like, for me, it's like I do identify as a trans faggot, but I wouldn't use that word outside of queer community or in my official bio, because I don't want to give cis straight people the impression that they can use
Right.
that, right? It's like, no,
Yeah.
that's like, it's a reclaimed word. And I feel part of kind of a movement. And I think it's also like interesting as a trans, non-binary, more effeminate, masculine person to
Yeah.
claim the word faggot, right? There's so many layers. And at the same
Mhm.
time, it is a slur that's been used against me and against other people, right, in the community, kind of similar to, different and similar to the word sissy in different ways. And it's
Yeah.
like, how do we take our power back from like the queer phobia, the misogyny, right? The trans misogyny, the trans misogynoir, like all the things that
Hmm.
you've experienced and other folks experience. So it is a fine balance, but I think there is power in reclaiming slurs, right? And
Yeah.
and I actually love that. I was like, yeah, let's talk about it. It's like, it is
Yeah, there's
important.
nothing wrong with being a
Yeah,
sissy. There's nothing wrong with
exactly,
being. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah, and what is it like to really like, you know, take it back and be like, yes, this is who I am, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember, somebody shouting on the street, "Faga" at me when I was holding hands with a partner. I turned around and I went, "Thank you." And they were like, "What?" That is not the reaction they were
yeah,
expecting, right? I was like,
yeah,
I feel so
yeah,
gender affirmed right now. And also, I know
yeah,
you were trying to hurt me, but I'm not going to let you. Right? I'm just going to take my power
yeah,
in whatever way I can, as we do.
yeah.
And let's talk about this. You say you stand for compassion, courage, and equality, which totally comes through your beautiful music. And so I can totally see how reclaiming that power is part of this courage and compassion. And what is that fires you up at the moment? What is the thing that really gets you up in the morning and you're like, this is the thing that I need to keep pushing for? And I feel at the moment, I don't know if that's how you feel, but it's a heavy moment. There have been many heavy
Hmm.
moments, in history, of course, and this is one of those. And so I'm interested in what fires you up right now and what makes that creativity flow for you right now.
Well, my initiatives for my brand, as far as what makes me, what I think is important to talk about, Black trans women and the people, trans people of color too. Let's
Yeah,
not forget, but like Black trans women specifically because of my interlink and
yeah,
with the and how much they've been murdered and how that has exponentially gotten worse from over the last 4 years specifically. So like things like that, and that includes gun control because most of those
yeah,
are done by people with guns. So it's
absolutely.
that includes gun control, yeah, and like and yeah, just overall violence and things like that that breaks my heart. And as somebody who has a platform and who has a significant uh, privilege level compared relative to the world, I think that it's important that regardless of how I feel, regardless of depression and all these things, that I still get up and I try to make some sort of change with that.
Absolutely. I mean, it is the level of anti-trans legislation that has been introduced across the country in the last 4 years, the level of, and of course the ongoing systemic racism, police violence, right?
Hmm.
Yes, it's heartbreaking, and I can only imagine how much more heartbreaking and exhausting it is for you as a trans family, non-binary person of color, Black trans woman, and
Hmm.
so yeah, I hear that sometimes all we can do is like, well, we get up and we keep fighting for something better. So
Yeah.
what, as you do this, what brings you joy? In what ways are you nurturing yourself? That's a question I'm asking a lot of trans, non-binary, and gender expansive folks at the moment, because I feel like it is a heavy moment. So as well as fighting for justice and liberation, which absolutely, how can we not, for our community, what kind of helps you feel supported and nurtured and cared for and, finding moments of joy? How are you finding your joy and nurturance nowadays?
Well, I think one thing that is first of all the most responsible advice to people would be like to therapy. Therapy is what I'm doing, and therapy is helpful to me right now, and is and aside from that, just working on my health, my physical health, with exercising and things like that, which I understand is not it's not easy for people who have depression. Sometimes you feel paralyzed, so it's hard to but you shouldn't shame yourself for that if you're not able to get those things done. And, I like to take, I have my own, struggles in that there's not really any direct fix for me for the, and well, I mean, disclosure, like I have depression, anxiety, if I didn't say that, but, that's like, there's no real, fix for that, but working every day to do something better, taking vitamins, knowing every day, even if I take my vitamin that day, I know that I did something. I did something I shouldn't hate myself, and trying not to hate myself. I mean, these sound like terrible things, but like trying not to take things out on myself and to go slow, even though I know that I'm stuff. I'm not doing my best to not think to overthink too much, and, to again look at my art, coping, and yeah.
No, that makes sense. I mean, it's a delicate balance, right? It's like we know that, of course, I mean, I don't know anybody who's trans who's not experiencing depression and anxiety because of the world we live
Yeah.
in, right? And again, like
Yeah.
I think when you were brought up with a, historically marginalized identity, it's hard to find that kind of confidence and self-love because you have a world like hitting on you in so many different ways, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of that balance, like we fight for justice and we also take care of ourselves. And sometimes there are some days where I'm like, well, I'm breathing and I'm drinking some water. Good enough, right? It's like
Yeah.
I'm here. Tomorrow's
Yeah.
a different day and I can do something different. And I think that's so important. I think,
Yeah.
I don't know, the world puts so much pressure on like, you have to do all the things, right? You care for yourself and you care for others and you have to be
Yeah.
productive. And I'm like, there's only 24 hours in a day, people.
Right.
And we're all so tired.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, but I feel tired.
Right. Right. Yeah, and it's important to, to take, to know that and to know and I want to say know your limitation, but to know like that this is something that's gonna, I don't know. It's not something that you should. It's not necessarily. It's like a blame thing, but it's more so like making sure that you also hold some sort of standard to yourself. Because if you don't fall, if you don't stand for something, like you'll fall. And I think that just taking it easy, but every little step is valuable and is should be celebrated to the highest degree. That's all So yeah.
Absolutely. It's like, I often ask myself, okay, what's in my control here and what's outside of my control? Okay. Taking care of myself, it's in my control and I'm doing the best I can. And even if it's like the smallest step, like you said, it's still a step, right? And sometimes that's all we can do. And we do need to celebrate those moments because they are important. Absolutely. And, I think, being surrounded by so much, transphobia is not easy, I think, for people right now. And I don't know if, I don't even know if cis people really understand just the impact of the constant, there's another bill, another trans woman, usually a Black trans woman or a trans woman of color murdered, right? It's like drip, drip, drip every day. How can it not impact our mental health as trans folks, right?
And as queer people, it's so overlooked, I think, just the mental health issue that goes along with not only, just being unaddressed, but also homelessness and all those things.
Yes.
The society is so just, government doesn't care. The government doesn't care about a lot of things. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's becoming increasingly clear. Now you can just be arrested for being houseless and sleeping, which I'm like, sleeping should be a human right. I'm like, what is even, I mean, I know what is happening, what's always happened, right? It's like, sometimes my clients are like, Alex, you think everybody has trauma? And I was like, well, of course. I was like, it's a country based on like an ongoing genocide, slavery, and capitalism. I was like, how can we not all be traumatized in one way or another? Obviously different ways, but of course. So, well, and on that happy note, but we keep going, right? We keep going, and you are an activist as well as a musician and an influencer, and I think that's I don't know about you, but it's like, do you feel that the activism in a way keeps you going, keeps you connected to community, keeps you less isolated? I'm just curious about the role of activism in your life. And did it emerge through your music in a different way? Like, where did you get the passion to be like, I need to do something. I need to be active as part of the community?
Yeah. And with my music, the original purpose was not necessarily to even mention that I was queer. Like that was not my intent originally. Over time, I was kind of talked to more so about that. Like you can't really just not address that. It's like, but it's like, also, like advocate, like that's where that came from. And I wanted to, it's important to have a community, I think, when you're, struggling with, especially if you don't have a supportive place, to have people around you, therapists or not, have a lot of people around you, that are either trans or just family that loves you. And yeah, those are always things that I think are helpful in this society.
Absolutely. Yeah. And finding our people can be so hard, but so worthwhile, right? Because when we feel
Yeah.
isolated, then that depression can feel even heavier, or that isolation can really feed all this like anxious thoughts too. So, I really appreciate how open you are about mental health, and that is part of your passion, right? And another
hmm
part of your passion is gender neutrality, as you mentioned in your bio. Tell me more about what gender neutrality means to you. When you say that, what's the dream, right? If you could wave a magic wand and tomorrow we live in the gender neutral world that you dream of, what does a world look like?
Um, like with gender neutrality, yeah, definitely. I identify as genderqueer. He, he pronouns primarily, and being to me, the whole point of the gender expression and something that I really want to push is allowing everybody, not just queer people, everybody to be able to express themselves. That's what I want. Like when I go out with my full face of black heavy stuff, and when I just go out to the supermarket, or when I go to like I want a woman to look at me and say, okay, maybe I can wear some mascara. Maybe I can't. This guy's out here doing this, so let's, maybe I can encourage a woman to. Even if they want to, not be ashamed, not feel, uncomfortable, and yeah, that's primarily how I view that. And I would hope that one day there would be neutral pronouns for everybody. It is very tricky right now, with that, especially when it's like you don't know who you're talking to. I know that the straight community, how they view us, it's hard for them to grasp they, which is, I don't know why, but that's so it's going to be a struggle. But right now I really just want people to be more expressive, because that's going to be thousands of years down the line. But I think right now people are already doing it. People are already doing it. I want straight men to be able to do what they want, and all that stuff. So yeah.
I'm with you. I was like, I think that it's so constrictive to police gender the way we do, and also just policing anything. It's messed up in so many ways. And so, yeah, that gender expansiveness, that freedom, just clothing our clothing, hair is hair. I remember in like a neighborhood email thread, somebody going, how do you take care of boys' long hair? And I was like, I guess the same as you take care of girls' long hair. It's like, it's hair. And they were like, oh,
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it. And I was like, yes, and right. I was like, I was trying to have
Yeah.
so much compassion, but I was also so puzzled because, I was like, it's long hair. I mean, like if they'd ask like how, I've always had short hair, don't know how to take care of long hair. Absolutely. I mean, like my oldest loves hair braids, and I was like, I can't help you. I'm terrible at it. Like, let's find somebody else who can, right? I've always loved my
Yeah.
hair short, so I don't have a lot of practice with that, right? But I think people have such weird ideas around like, even things that, everybody has, kind of making them gender, right? Men's clothes, women's clothes, boys' toys, girls' toys. I'm like, or just toys and clothes
Yeah.
and makeup, and
Yeah.
accessories and,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
even recently, my mom was talking about like something, and she's like, she saw some show, and it was like, you should have seen it. There was somebody who's genderqueer on there, who's queer on there. I'm like, what? How did they say that? She's like, no, this is how they looked. I'm like, Mom, maybe that guy does not want to be, queer. Like that's kind of what I'm saying is like that somebody shouldn't be looked at and just even viewed as queer if they don't want to be. Yeah, and I don't. That's kind of yeah. There's a lot
No,
of
I'm with
examples
you.
out there.
I was watching some stand up by like some trans comics, and one of them is like, you can be in a room with 50 people. I think it was River. Oh my God, I can butcher. I think it's like you can be in a room with 50 people, and there's like 49 people, and then somebody goes, "What are your pronouns?" Right? It's like that
Yeah.
kind of getting singled out, right? Like I look forward to when it's so accepted that actually we ask everybody what their pronouns are, because we can't make assumptions, about somebody's
Yeah.
gender or sexuality just based on their mannerism or clothing. Absolutely. Wouldn't that be amazing? I want to wake
Yeah.
up in that world one day, but probably not.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
Right? Well, maybe in our lifetime, who knows? There's so much that can happen, right?
Yeah.
And, say in your bio as well that you really advocate for awareness of minority mental health. And I know that like mental health and access to therapy can be so stigmatized. And so I'm wondering about, what do you see that makes you passionate about being more open about mental health? What do you see in terms of stigma around minority mental health specifically that makes you passionate about this topic?
Um, Substance use to me is one of the biggest things that I feel like I can speak on in terms of mental health, due to seeing many people die, not just for people of color, but in general, that's something that I know that is. I've seen people in my own biological family pass from. I had two sisters recently, 2 years ago, that were biological who passed, and one was because of a potentially a substance issue, and seeing things like that, and I mean, just you know, and also going through what I've gone through, not only as an adult but as a child too, being diagnosed at a very young age with ADHD, being put on medication at what is it, 11 or 12, or and starting it off. Then I think that not only in the queer community, and this isn't color specific. This is not when I talk about mental health, I don't really mean color specific, except for the fact that it's like we can't access it, and there's not much I can you know say about that. I think that there's a lot of systemic issues that are behind that need to be addressed. But with mental health, I always want to be an advocate, and by that, I want people to reach out if they want to reach out, and I like to talk to people, and about and people, and I'm a very much open book, so I don't mind being a voice in that sense.
Mhm. And thank you for being a voice, because I think people do find it hard, right? And there's a lot of like, oh, people should reach out. And I'm like, and when people reach out, how do we react? And also, how can we kind of really make it common for folks to be like, oh, I'm struggling with this, or can you come over and do some parallel tasks with me, right? Maybe I'll do my dishes while you answer emails, because we're both like struggling with that, right? Can we just, Umusila talks a lot about really dreaming about what does community care looks like, right? And that's something I'm really passionate about, right? Because I think that we all feel so isolated and disconnected because of white supremacy and colonialism and capitalism.
Yeah.
And so really resisting that narrative of isolation and nurturing community and building community is so important. I'm also so sorry to hear about your sisters, and yeah.
Oh, thank you. And I mean, about the Black community, I think one thing also that would be important to mention is, and it's a tricky thing for me to want to discuss sometimes, because I don't know if it's necessarily something that everybody should hear, but when in terms of like the Black community, I feel like there's an internal struggle there that's very severe with queer people and things like that also could affect mental health, and being ostracized, and those things, being thrown out the door is not necessarily mentally the best situation. So, I think that the Black community has a lot of issue, not only from being systemically oppressed and behind, but within the internal. Not only there's the Black church. The Black church has a whole lot of history there with exorcisms of queer people. Like it's a whole so there's a lot of. But it's not just the Black community. It's a that's causing the internal issues. But you know what I mean. Yeah.
I do. And that Christian supremacy, kind of world that sometimes we live in, and that, if it's not an inclusive church, it can be really impactful. And yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's not just Black churches. It's also like
Right.
evangelical white churches, Baptist churches, right?
Yeah.
I see this, and then there's other systemic issues, and I can totally understand the reluctance to talk about it, because I think there's a strong stereotype that sometimes, Black community or Black churches are more transphobic or queerphobic. And that has not been my experience necessarily. I was like, I see a
Not
lot
all
of
the time.
transphobia and queerphobia with white folks too. But I think I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, let's not deflect the issue, you know what I mean? But so I can
Right.
understand the reluctance. It's a both end, right? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. And it is tricky, because I think that, it's always, I think sometimes I wonder as a minoritized person, if I share this vulnerable thing, is it going to be weaponized against me or my community, right? And so I don't know if there's also that feeling like things can get turned around and distorted. And so I'm always like, when I talk about things, I'm always like, oh, I want to share
Yeah.
the thing. And also I don't want it to come across wrong or to be used against
Right.
me or my communities. Right. So I'm wondering
Yeah.
if there's a little bit of that, which is totally understandable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there is because I don't want the Black community. I think that it's important that we're not viewed as weak. I don't think that the community is necessarily weak as part of it, as much as it is behind. And I just, yeah, obviously the Black community is where I was raised and born. So, that's my people, I just don't like to see that we are having any sort of dilemma here. It's not beneficial in this political climate, certainly. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, yes. In this political climate, also, it's just, I don't know, there are times where I'm like, well, do I even want to be visible? Like, even with all my privilege as like a light skinned person, as a disabled person, as a trans person, it's like, these are not easy times to navigate. Like,
No, believe me, I had to turn off my comments on YouTube. I could not handle. I could like at this point, like I'm still growing my audience, and right now I'm just getting the Trump 2024s, like all those. Like it's
yeah, I
yeah,
can only imagine. I'm so glad that you're kind of turned off those comments, because sometimes people are like,
yeah,
oh, and I'm like, no, block away, delete the comments, like do what you need to do to protect your mental health if you're more visible,
yeah.
because it's not a good environment right now out there. So I'm glad you're protecting your well-being by turning off those comments. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, talking about your work and your visibility online, what are the projects that you're working towards? Any projects that you want to talk about, like music that you're working on, or yeah, what are you working on right now?
Right now I'm just kind of editing a music video. I haven't come out with a music video in a while, so I'm kind of editing that. Taking a break from reaction content on YouTube for like less than a week, to be honest. But like with the because I that's been over 40 videos plus in that channel over the last like 6 months. So I really want to get in. I react to queer content. It's all queer content. It's just
Mm-hmm.
I like to do commentary on queer TikToks, commentary on the Jerry Springer show, the old trans episodes, and those
Yes.
type of things, and to like, give my opinions, and not necessarily be like a political statement, because I'm not a political person. I don't think I would be responsible to say that I am if I'm not well educated in that, but I still want to give like a positive view and maybe give some stats here where I think it's, appropriate. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
No, I hear that. Unfortunately, sometimes existing as a minoritized person means being political inherently. Like, I feel like just existing as a trans person is inherently
Yeah,
political. It, you existing as a Black person on Turtle Island is inherently political because of the systemic issues. Absolutely. It's
right.
like, but I do love that because, and I love how social media can really give us a way of being in conversation with popular culture, right? I think just kind of that dialogue with popular culture. Well, I'm excited about the new music video. I can't wait to see it. I bet it's
Thank
going to
you.
be fabulous. Do you know more or less when it's going to come out so listeners can watch out for it?
Yeah, it should be coming out this week. I mean, I'm working on it
That's
now. It's kind of like
exciting.
it's my own homemade music video, so it's not like the biggest. It's not my major budget video, but it's
Yeah.
like that's it's coming out. So yeah, it should be coming out this week, and I should have more videos too out by Sunday. And I'm trying to stay up with it, but yeah, I'm doing my best.
It takes a lot of time and effort. Are you kidding? It's like, it's a lot to
Yeah,
create content. So, it's not
yeah.
easy. I think it's way more time consuming than people think to get
Oh
content out
yeah,
there.
yeah,
And I don't know, like, I feel like that 90, at least for me, 98% of content that I put out there, it's really a labor of love, and kind of wanting to share with
yeah,
people. Yeah. And
yeah.
so, yeah. There's a question that I ask everybody when I interview them, which is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about, or that you were like, oh, I was really hoping to talk about that? And if there isn't, it's okay. But I always ask my guests, because I'm like, if there's something we haven't touched on, we can talk about it and take the time you need to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think just in terms of my genderqueer experience and what I would like to say about like why I choose to identify as genderqueer. A lot of people ask me over the like, why aren't you just a woman? Why aren't you just identifying as a woman? I feel like it's important for every trans person to take time to not, if they don't know what they want. I'm a very unsure person. I'm very confused, and I didn't want to, make a decision that might not be the best for me, mental health considered mostly. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that, with being genderqueer in the middle and just experimenting with your appearance and stuff like that. And I urge everybody to be careful.
I love that. I'm like, yes, let's play with gender. Also, gender is a journey. I remember when I got my top surgery 14 years ago almost now, people are like, so you're going to be a man now? And I'm like, nope, not going to be a man.
Right.
Still going to be my queerdo self, like not a man,
Right.
not a woman,
Yeah.
just like this little puzzle piece that when I'm out in the world, people are like, ma'am, sir, sorry. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's all good. Relax. Like, you
Yeah.
can
No, I
just
definitely I
be a
relate to that
friend.
because yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I relate to that because with I want to start hormones. I want to start hormones, but not
Mhm.
for the fact of wanting to be a female. I just want more feminization, and that's okay too. People as long as you talk to your doctor, and you know
Absolutely.
what you yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
exactly.
love that because it's like people, and I'm like, and I'm a therapist and I understand that people need to think through it. And also, I think there are some things that you need to experience in your body to know if it's right for you. Even like I've been on testosterone. I think this is my third time over the last, I don't know, 20 years, right? And I
Hmm.
have been on it and then stopped because I don't want to masculinize completely, but there are some things that are helpful, especially now with perimenopause. And I think people think about as this is a decision, and then once you make it, there's no going back. And I'm like, no, you need to think about the impact and the consequences, but that you actually can try something, stop it. If it's not right for you, then maybe it's
Hmm.
right for you 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm with you. Let's normalize gender exploration. Let's normalize, like, I want to try hormones and see if they're for me, because there's some stuff that we don't know until you experience it. You know what I mean? Like, I can think about it all day long, but it's only when I experience it that I know what it feels like in my body. I don't know if I'm making sense, but
No, that's good. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
yeah. So I hope when you try it out that you give yourself whatever time you need to figure out what's right for you. Because I think that's also
Yeah.
the beauty of being genderqueer is that, okay, I don't fit into a box, which means I get to, draw my own map of where I want to go. And it's
Yep.
okay if I meander down one path and then I'm like, this is not for me. I'm just going to turn around and go back and go another way. Like, I think that's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything that you think, if there's younger listeners, maybe teenagers or young adults who are feeling in that more liminal space of like, I'm not sure, I'm genderqueer, but I'm not sure, how to present myself or what to do, especially maybe young kind of Black genderqueer folks, right?
Mm.
Anything that you would want to say to them or share with them or, yeah.
It takes time for people around you to know what's going on. Like I think something that's important is I would like obviously to me like just if guy like boy if you want to throw out a dress like I would just say that. But like in terms of like being realistic with society, like in terms and what I would want people to how I want people to be safe, uh, would to be like to first of all, if you're going to come out to know the political climate of your family, to know how they feel about those type of things, and if you're going to start wearing makeup to do it, maybe gradually, and but don't like throw yourself into situations that might be dangerous. Like if you're going, like if it might be, and you don't know, definitely there is 100% going to be issues somewhere. And somewhere there's going to be issues. So just be prepared, uh, and just go easy with yourself, go slow, and to know that if your family does not accept you, that to find a community that does, to find a queer support group for youth. There are many of those in Boston, I know,
Mhm.
and I'm actually helping out with one. I'm going to be volunteering without Metro West, which is a youth support group. So I'm doing, so there's that, and find people who you relate to, and also like keep your situation in mind. Don't go slow. Like you're just if you're under 18, like you have time, and to be safe. Just be safe and be realistic. And it's hard to say that because I want everybody, like I want a boy who's like listening, if they want to wear a dress, just to pull on a dress. But like I think being careful is also like, worth paying attention to.
Absolutely. I think safety is important. And, I do dream of the day when it's not even an issue, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
if a boy wants to wear a dress, they can just put on the dress and not worry about safety. But while it's an issue, I think that it makes complete sense. And sometimes when we're young, like safety is not our top concern. At least it
Yeah.
wasn't for me. I know I put myself in a lot of dangerous situations as a young person, but I think as
Yeah, that too. Like, be careful
right.
sexually too. That's the other thing. Just be safe. Be safe sexually. Don't be too active. Don't do what I did, which was I was 15, go on dating apps, like talking to older guys. Don't do that. Don't be just stay being a child. Like don't like just because you're queer doesn't mean we got to do all this stuff. We can still have fun, and yeah. Just
Yeah.
don't just be careful.
There's a lot of time to do all the stuff. And if, to young and older folks out there too, if something happens and you're not safe, look for some support and some help. There will be people who have compassion and support to give you. So I know I
Yeah.
feel lucky that there were people to give me support and compassion. And so I hope that if folks do find themselves in an unsafe situation, that they can talk about it with somebody and find that compassion and care somewhere. Yeah. So thank
Yeah,
you
it
for
saved
that.
my life going to the youth support group because that was very helpful to me to have a youth support group when I was in high school. So yeah, I mean that's where to just reach out.
Absolutely. Reach out, find your people. Peer support is so wonderful. So I'm so glad that you had a queer youth support group at school that was like that place for you. I feel like I could keep talking with you about mental health, about music, but I want to be respectful of your time. But before we sign off, where can people find your work, where they can follow you? I'll put that in the episode notes too, but let's share it in the episode too. Like, where can they find you on YouTube and Instagram? Yeah.
It's at DNFM official on all platforms,
Mm-hmm.
and DNFM, if you just search DNFM on for music, it's DNFM on all platforms, and then DNFM official
Mm-hmm.
for social media.
Wonderful. So it's also in the episode notes. So check out Dean FM's music is wonderful and all his other content too. So thank you so much for today. I really appreciate this conversation. I really appreciate you and I really appreciate the beautiful content and music that you create. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to you, Gender Stories listeners, stay safe, stay creative, and stay expansive in your own life. And until next time.